It's 100% entertainment, 100% electricity, 100%.
Pipebomb Radio with your host, Felix Olmedo.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
And Austin James.
That's the bottom line. From stone to stone.
Welcome, everybody, to Pipebomb Radio tonight as we celebrate the 100th episode. Can you believe it? 100 episodes of Pipebomb Radio. You had to put up with us for 100 episodes.
I know I have to put up with you for 100 episodes. It's crazy.
No. We have to put up with each other, so shut up. I'm just kidding. How you doing, Nate?
I'm doing good, boys. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us again tonight. We've got some surprises in store for tonight, and hopefully everybody enjoys the show, but definitely our headliner tonight is Mr. James Beard. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Beard.
Yeah, James Beard is one of the most legendary referees to ever walk the face of the earth. He's refereed in virtually everywhere you can imagine, and especially in the South. He's a mainstay, and he's a director of operations for the NWA and just a legendary professional wrestling official. He's going to be on with us tonight.
That is correct, and we've also got a couple of surprises in store. First and foremost, just want to get your guys' opinion before we get in contact with our guest. Thoughts on Raw last night?
I thought Raw was, it continues, in my opinion, to just continue to get better and better, especially for the past weeks. Leading up to SummerSlam, and then now leading up to Night of Champions, especially with the whole entire Brie Bella and Nikki situation. I don't know what you guys think about that whole entire thing that's going on between them. This history rivalry, also the eulogy for Dean Ambrose, thought was pretty cool. And now Seth is going to be having a rivalry with Roman Reigns, and we saw Shawn Michaels also and Ric Flair basically give their opinion if John Cena is going to defeat Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions to regain his WWE Championship. In my opinion, I don't think he has a chance, especially after what I saw at SummerSlam.
I thought
Would you
Raw
like to
was
counter
pretty
that,
good.
Nate?
Yeah, I thought Raw was pretty good. There were some things that I did not like, and I'm going to have a dissenting view because I was not a big fan of the Bella segment. I got both girls, but that's not what I want to watch when I turn on Raw. I was interested in the Reigns angle with Rollins. I think that's a great direction they're taking that in. And, I think Cena and Lesnar, it's interesting. I think maybe they're going to this rematch a little bit too soon. But for what it is, I enjoyed what they had on the show Monday night.
I actually watched I'm a little late, guys, but I watched the 2K15 roster reveal, SummerSlam panel, whatever they wanted to call it. I actually thought that was pretty enjoyable for the 2 hours that they had it on there. Did you guys happen to catch that? I know Austin did.
Actually didn't. I couldn't catch it the first time I was live, surprisingly. But then when I actually checked it out the second time, when first watching it, I'm like, well, it's definitely going to be a step up from previous years. And I'm a fan of the series. I don't really play any video games besides wrestling games.
No video games? What's up with that?
No, you didn't hear what I said. I don't play any video games besides wrestling games, so I'm not really interested in the other ones unless it's wrestling. And this year's WWE 2K15 is looking phenomenal. Looks real. If you've seen John Cena, if you've seen him in one of the pictures, or Randy Orton and in one of the videos, they look legitimate.
Yeah, I had a chance to check it out. I thought it was pretty cool. My buddy Marcus from the Kings of Sport was out there covering it, and he said that there was a lot of buzz around the game. I'm looking forward to it. My only beef, and I hope they resolve this with a download later, is the theme of this year's game is classic rivalries, and since Sting is in the game, I wish there was a mode where you could go back and play some old Sting versus Flair from the WCW.
Or maybe even Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat. Hey, I'll take either one.
That'd be great, too.
Well, with that, shall we go ahead and contact our guest? You guys ready?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Do
We'll
it.
get in touch with Mr. James Beard. Here we go.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Beard?
Yes, it is.
Hello, sir. This is Felix, Austin, and Nate with Pipebomb Radio. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, Felix. How are you doing?
Doing very well. We're very honored to have you with us on here tonight to talk about the things you've done in your career, what you're up to today, and much, much more. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Proud to be here.
Great, great. First off, I just wanted to start off with, your connections to professional wrestling. How did your connection to professional wrestling start? Obviously, unless you, grew up like all the rest of us. As a child, grew up as a fan of professional wrestling, or did it just happen by some accident, something that was ready to happen for you? You were just going to make it happen. How did you get involved?
I grew up as a fan. I watched when I was a kid. We lived about 90 miles east of Dallas, so we got the Dallas TV program. So we watched. They had a studio wrestling on Channel 4 in Dallas for a while, and then they had the wrestling from the Sportatorium, and then they had the wrestling from the Northside Coliseum. But it was all the Southwest Sports, which was pretty world class. And I grew up watching that and became a fan, and I got a little older and I got involved in the music business, and I was playing music in Dallas, so I got to know some of the boys who were working in Dallas at the time, and I just gradually kind of, I guess, got pushed into it a little bit. And I guess some of them felt like by talking to me, they thought I might be someone who could do well in it, and started doing a little work from that, and I gradually morphed into that being a full-time deal, and I didn't have time for music anymore after that. So kind of one of those being in the right place and knowing the right people thing, I guess.
Now, did you actually fully have intentions when becoming a referee, when getting to professional wrestling, or did you have any sights on actually being a wrestler?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
When you're actually getting into the professional wrestling business, did you actually have intentions on being a referee originally, or was it intentions on being a professional wrestler? I kind of got started a little late. I'd already been playing music for several years, and I didn't really think I was at an age that I'd want to start wrestling. And really, I grew up thinking, all those guys were bigger than life. I thought they were bigger than that. I didn't realize until I was around a lot of them that some of them weren't any bigger than I am. But I was an athlete. I went to college on a basketball and baseball scholarship, and so that was something I might have pursued if I had thought that I could have done that. But I just didn't. I just never really felt like I was, I guess, big enough. And by the time I got into the business, it was a natural thing to get into the refereeing side of it, and my goal really was to be involved in the creative side, and I've kind of gotten to do a little bit of all of that, I guess. So I didn't really have any aspirations to be a wrestler. I just enjoyed the business, enjoyed the creative part of it, and then being able to be a part of the match, and. When I decided that that's what I wanted to do, I wanted to be as good at it as I could be.
Now, James, I'm an old school fan, and I really enjoy a lot of the kind of wrestling that may be a little bit obscure. And one of my favorite federations from back in the day was a little federation out of Dallas, Texas called the Global Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks might not remember it, but Cactus Jack was there, Harlem Heat was there, Booker T and Stevie Ray. And in Booker's book, he put you over pretty big in terms of having a positive influence on his life and his career. What are some of your memories of GWF, and particularly your memories of Booker T?
Well, GWF was it was kind of an extension of World Class and all the other promotions that had been at the Sportatorium or based on the Sportatorium. It was a totally differently run promotion. Joe Pedicino came in first with it, and they were very progressive, I guess you would say, in the way they presented the program, and it was kind of a unique presentation. We had a lot of great talent there to begin with, and a lot of really good young talent. And Booker T came along a little bit after we began that. Joe Pedicino left, and it was taken over by Gray Pearson. And after Gray came in, then we started using a lot more, I guess, local guys, but mainly because we didn't have as much money to work with. And Booker and his brother were out of Houston, and they had just started in the business, and they were a couple of the guys that we brought in, and we saw a lot of promise in them, and they were utilized pretty heavily. I think they would tell you that they learned a lot working in Global. We had a good crew. We did a lot of good things. There were some things that I look back on it, and I kind of shake my head about, but for the most part, it was good stuff, and I think a lot better than some people maybe remember.
Now, at this point, and had you had any aspirations to actually, considering that Vince in the WWF during the 80s and some of the 90s were coming through and swallowing up a lot of the companies and taking over really the world, really, if you think about it, did you have any aspirations to come and work for Vince in the WWE?
Well, I actually worked with him over in Japan for a couple of years. I had a good deal in Japan for several years, and when things started kind of slowing down in Texas, and it was kind of harder to find work, and a lot of guys were trying to go to work for Vince or trying to go to work for WCW. I really never tried at that time because I had the deal over there, and I actually liked it a lot better, and I really enjoyed the way the wrestling product was presented in Japan, and I loved going over there. So I really just never cared about it.
Mm-hmm. Now your trainer is actually the late great Bruiser Brody. How's it like actually being around him? And I've heard so many stories about him. But from your experiences, how is it like being around him?
With Bruiser?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Bruiser was one of those guys that everybody's got a tell about and everybody's got an opinion about. As far as I'm concerned, he was a stand-up guy and unique talent and a good friend. And he was someone who did things his own way. And there was a reason for that. I mean, he was protecting himself. He was protecting his business, and he was trying to make a living for his family. And I have all the respect in the world for him. And it was a sad day when what happened to him happened.
Now, James, being the third man, you've had a chance to be around some of the biggest names in the sport. From the Von Erich family on down. And I'd like to know, when you talk about somebody like a Kerry Von Erich or, somebody like a Steve Austin or a JBL or a Booker T, is there a common trait or work ethic that all these guys had in common, or, are these once-in-a-lifetime type of performers?
Yeah, most of them, really. You take a guy, now Kerry's a little bit different because he was brought up in the business, and the way he came into the business and the situation that the Von Erich boys were thrown into was a totally different deal. I mean, they were expected to succeed from the beginning, and a lot of pressure was put on them, and then they weren't pampered, but they definitely had a different situation than most guys did when they come in because of the name and the precedent that their dad had set. But guys like Steve Austin and Booker T and John Layfield and a few others like that I've had something to do with as far as their early training and their early progression in the business. They all had a real dedication to to the business. They really loved the business, and they wanted to learn, and they didn't play around. They were always listening and trying to train and pick up new things. And there's a mindset that guys like that have, that you just know when you're around them for a little while that they're going to be successful. And all of those guys had those traits. I mean, I had no doubt about any one of those that they were going to be. They were going to do really well in their careers, and they were all just really, really devoted to being as good as they could be, and I think they proved that to be the case, and they got the chance.
Okay, and could you describe the atmosphere of what it was like during the era of the Sportatorium during the Von Erich Freebird feud? What was that arena like? What was the atmosphere like during? Because I know they had some heated battles over the years, way back when. You got to referee a few of those matches. Do you remember some of those matches off the top of your mind in there? And could you describe that atmosphere?
Well, the thing about the way things were done at that time, and if you compare that to what you see today, the fans. And this is the thing that I think is missing in wrestling a lot of times. The fans become emotionally involved, and they're emotionally attached. You had the personal issues, and you had the personalities, and you had the conflicts, but it was all based on competition, and there was an intensity there that you don't see anywhere else today. And that of course that Von Erich Freebird feud was probably as good an example of that as there's ever been in this business. And those guys just created such great chemistry with each other, but they also created an emotional bond with the fans. They either loved the Von Erichs or they hated the Freebirds, or and there was such a personal feeling that you felt every time they got together, and the fans it was such an intense thing. You just don't feel that anymore. I mean, it's like the greatest rivalries in sports, and that's what it was like. If you get in the ring in a situation like that, you can feel the intensity, and you can feel the fans getting into it and getting behind things and reacting to whatever's happening in the ring. It's something that's almost hard to explain, but once you feel it, you want to feel it again, and it was pretty consistent with those guys.
Now being around a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was really young, did you ever see him getting as big as he went on to be?
Did I see him do what? I'm sorry?
Being around a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was young, did you actually get a feeling of him going on to be as big as that he was going to be?
Yeah, I had no question about it. Steve was incredibly intense about learning, and very one-minded as far as the way he approached the business and his career. He had goals, and he wasn't afraid to tell you what they were, and that was to be the number one guy in the business. And he had some disappointments trying to get there on the way, but once he got the opportunity, he took the best of it. I knew the day he left Dallas when I actually Matt Bourne and he were going to leave and go to Atlanta to try to get a job with WCW. But this is when things were kind of getting a little slow in the Dallas area for World Class and all. And they were going to go up there and just knock on doors. Basically, they were trying to talk to some guys they knew and see if they could get a shot. Didn't have anything guaranteed whatsoever. They got in their car and the car wouldn't start. So 3 or 4 of us pushed them off, and the next time we saw them, they were working for WCW, and
nice.
And Steve was one of those guys that was just really, really, like I said, really intense about what he wanted to do and where he wanted to go and how he wanted to be perceived in the business, and he wasn't going to let anything get in the way of that. You knew it from the first time I ever was around him. I knew that's what he was going to do. I wasn't surprised at all when he became what he became. I was a little surprised at the way he became that, and then he was known as he was kind of the dawning of the smart marks back in those days because he was such a good wrestler technically, and when he became such a big star, it was mainly from kicking and punching and doing all that kind of stuff. And I teased him a few times that he threw the worst punches in the world, but he made so much money with them, who cared? But he was, he was just one of those guys that was going to make it, and there's nothing going to stop him, and that's what happened.
Now, James, World Class was such a phenomenon in the 80s, and, you talk about people like the Von Erichs, Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez, just the list goes on and on. Iceman King Parsons was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then you talked about GWF, but it never seemed to me that Dallas territory ever caught fire like it did back in the heyday of World Class. Do you feel that was just a byproduct of the industry, or do you feel that it's still an untapped market? Because when TNA was in Texas recently and they did the spot with Kevin and his kids, the crowd went crazy for that. So I think there's still a passionate fan base there, but do you think, for whatever reason, why do you think that promotion hasn't been able to kind of step into those shoes of World Class?
Well, I mean, the Dallas area, was affected the same way a lot of other areas were affected when the WWF at the time made their move and became the national company that they became, and then WCW, of course, with the cable and that kind of TV, that kind of TV exposure. It changed everything. It changed everything for all the territories. It used to be that every area of the country had a promotion that they could get behind, and that was theirs. It was a personal thing. I think that's hard. That's a hard thing to accomplish these days because of the way TV is overexposed to business, and it's so easy to see all the wrestling and everything. I think the Dallas market it became really it was a hard nut for Vince to crack. I mean, he came in and tried and really didn't have much success there until later on. In fact, that was one of the reasons why he involved Prince and then later on Perry, because that market kind of resisted the WWF brand for a long time. And I think that there are a lot of old time traditional wrestling fans out there who still long for that kind of product, who still want to see the competition, and they want to see something that doesn't insult their intelligence and doesn't make kind of a mockery of the sport, or not really a caricature of it. And, I think there is a market for that out there. Somebody has the nerve and the patience to present it that way. But it's not an easy thing to do, because now you're at a point where you not only have to re-educate the fans, but you'd have to re-educate a lot of the talent as well, because they don't know how to do that.
I only have one last question, and that is touching on something more recent. It appears you were also at Coastal Mania in Galveston earlier this summer, and actually was able to referee a match for the next generation Von Erich. How cool was that for you, just to be in the ring with a new generation of Von Erich?
Well, I'd known those boys when they were really young. I hadn't seen them in a long time, but they've grown up quite a bit now. They're men now. They went over to Japan and trained some. They trained with Harvey a little bit up in Aiken. They're unfortunately they're in a situation that's like just about every other young wrestler in the business these days, and that is that you can't get enough experience to become as polished as you'd like to be. It takes time. It's not something you do overnight, and they're both great athletes, so they both have a good feel for things, but a lot of people probably expected them to be Kerry and Kevin and David, and they just can't be that right now. But they're good kids, and they work hard, and they do a good job, and if they get a chance to grow a little bit and work with the right people, they could make some noise in the business. But it was a thrill to be in the ring with them, because how many times you get a chance to work with 3 generations of one family.
That's right.
That was exciting for me, and it was great to see him. And I love Kevin. He's a great guy, and we talk periodically, and he's very happy, and they're doing very well over in Hawaii. But that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see them, and a lot of fun to work with them. And I hope I get a chance to do it again sometime.
Now, you actually went on to write your book, The Third Man, My Life and Times Inside the Ring and Out, which is actually available on Amazon, and you can actually get it on. I believe you have a website you can get it on as well.
I'm sorry, what's the website?
Yeah, the website for the your book.
Oh, okay, yes. You can get that at jamesbeardbook.com, and that'll lead you to the link to find the book. Mark James, who publishes a lot of the Memphis area books and that kind of thing, is the publisher. And you can also buy it on Amazon. It's on Kindle. Either way, and if you see me at a show, I'll usually have a few with me. So,
very cool.
Now, what inspired you to actually go on to make it, like, write your actual book about your life and career?
Why did I write it?
Yes, sir.
I resisted writing a book for a long time. I had a lot of people that kept telling me, you ought to write a book, and I had written a few articles for a site called Pipebomb Memories, and I'd written a few other things here and there for Slam and Slam website and different places, and had a lot of people just kept on me about writing, putting some things down, and I kept thinking, well, why would anybody want to read a book from a guy that's not a star, like most of the books written by, and plus I was referee. I wasn't a former referee. I finally was convinced that maybe it'd be worth the effort to do it. So I just started writing. It took about 3 years to do it. And I ended up writing about 600 and something pages, and my publisher finally told me, I said, well, we got 2 books here. So he ended up working and putting that one together, the one that's out right now, and we've got another one that we're hoping to get out. We were hoping about the end of the year, but it may be a little bit after that right now. But it's pretty much put together also.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that book and checking out just a lot of stories, man, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of great things, a lot of not so great things, and probably some things we can't say on a family show.
Yeah. Well, this book that's out right now is mostly about the different personalities that I work with. It's got some other things in there. There's a chapter in there about my feelings about the referee role in the business, and it's pretty detailed. And there's a few other stories here and there about this and that, but the main part of the book is about the personalities I work with: the Von Erichs, the Freebirds, Chris Adams, Tino Hernandez, John Layfield, Steve Austin, and then some of the guys that maybe should have been bigger stars that weren't, like a Rod Price, guys like that that I had a chance to have not only work with, but have a good personal relationship with, and that's what that book's about. Skandar Akbar and Gary Hart, those guys. But the book that will be coming out next is more. It's more about the federations and some more road stories and that kind of thing that this book didn't touch on.
Okay. And before we let you go, do you have any upcoming shows or any social media would you like to plug right now?
Well, I'm on Facebook. You can find me there, and I'll pop off about something every once in a while if I feel the need. But, I'm also write a regular deal for the NWA newsletter, and we've got a new magazine out now. Just bi-monthly that I'll write a column for. And,
very cool.
And I'm working with regularly with Houston, NWA Houston, and of course I make my way around to some of the other NWA shows and a few other independents here and there once in a while. But my goal right now is to try to do everything I can to make the NWA as prominent as we can make it, and try to get it back to the point to where it's a little bit more what it should be, and we're heading that direction.
Well, Mr. Beard, it's been indeed an honor to have you on here to chat about your career in professional wrestling and what you've done, the people you've gotten to meet, the book that we definitely need to be checking out on Amazon. Also, being on the lookout for your next book. Hopefully down the line, we'd love to have you come on back and maybe do a part 2 with us if you're up for it.
I'd be glad to anytime. You bet.
All righty, sir. On behalf of all of us here, we definitely wish you a very good night. And again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, take care, sir. Well, there you have it, folks. The one and only James Beard. Great questions tonight, guys. Definitely had his mind going every which way, remembering things, and I know he loved it. I can just definitely you can feel a good storyteller in people when they come in and they start talking about some of the times in their life. And as I said, you guys got some great questions, and we'll just keep this party rolling.
Yeah, Mr. Beard is awesome. I mean, he has so many great intentions for the NWA to get it back to the more of a tradition. That's the key word, the tradition that it had, a long while ago. And I'm not saying it doesn't now, I just think there's things they can do to make it better than it is.
True. And to let people know, obviously, that the WWE is not the be-all, end-all, that obviously you should be able to master your craft before you go there. I mean, look at Ring of Honor, man. They're doing something right because WWE's been watching that company like a hawk and just nitpicking every little thing, everybody they want out of there for them. But I digress. I'm going to go back and I'm going to touch on some things here. Over the last, I keep saying 18 months, but I don't know exactly. I'm going to say 18, 20 months or so. We've been on the air and brought it back in January of 2013 after, you know what, I messed around and I just did what I could. And, I got lucky. I had the chance to speak to Lanny and Mr. Lanny Poffo and a few others, Charlie Haas, when I first started this up. And then decided to kick it off again in 2013 and wanted to go in a whole new direction and wanted to make something of it because, I'd seen that others were doing something with theirs. I said, well, why not me too? So we started off a little slow. Austin was, he was hesitant on coming on first, but you know what? I talked him into it. What can I say? I'm kidding, but he came on. He joined me in later in January of 2013. We've gotten to speak with a lot of the names, coincidentally, Ring of Honor names, NWA names. Eventually making it to, without a doubt, probably our biggest guest to date at that time, which was right after WrestleMania. I think it was after. No, I'm sorry. It was right before WrestleMania. And we got to speak to the legendary Blackjack Mulligan for the very first time. And I don't think I heard Austin talk at all through that whole show. I was the one doing the talking because Austin was like, oh, it's like you hear music, you're just like a kid in the candy store because he was quiet as can be. I mean, he had a few questions in there from time to time. He was in there talking from time to time.
With Blackjack Mulligan, you ask one question and then he answers it, which lasts about 20 minutes, but that's the whole entire thing with him. He's always talking. That's what I love about him because we brought him back numerous times. I mean, just a couple weeks ago,
yes.
He asked one question. 20 minutes later, what's the next question? 30 minutes later, okay. I'm not saying it to slight him because I love him. He's my favorite guest of all time.
Not at all.
He's awesome.
Not at all. In fact, we lost Nate here for a second. He'll probably call back. But we've also got the host from one of our shows on the network. He is on the Pro Wrestling Historical Society. He hosts the show along with Greg Skelly. He is the one and only Mr. Terry Kent. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Hello, it's my pleasure.
All righty, we got Nate back too. All right, woohoo! Double header here.
There we go.
Yes, Terry Kent. I continue to tell people this when when I'm going around to all these shows that they know, listen to Pro Wrestling Historical Society, they're always pointing at him and Greg every single Sunday, saying those guys know every single thing there is to know about professional wrestling history. And I wouldn't doubt it either, because they have an awesome website, ProWrestlingHistoricalSociety.com. And I know that Terry is one of the guys who edits it, along with definitely Sir Jimmy Wheeler.
Don't forget the Sir in there, now, otherwise he'll get mad.
No, it's Sir Jimmy Wheeler. There's a difference.
I just want to call and congratulate you guys. I've known you over it's been at least 8 months or so or more, and I wish I was with y'all from the very beginning. And please forgive my ignorance for not knowing your radio show sooner. And I feel like I've known Felix and Austin for my entire life now, and Austin and I have spent quite a few times and even chatting on the phone the other night. We had a great time, and it is always a pleasure. You guys are the greatest. Kindness. Really appreciate y'all putting up with us and letting us be on there and spread the history of wrestling. And hey, I just want to call and congratulate you guys for your 100th episode.
Yeah, it's definitely a milestone that we weren't, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what the future held when I wanted to bring it back, but to think that we've already made it 100 episodes, that's all I'm going to say. I'm definitely glad to have you guys on the show. I mean, you know what, it's better to mix things up than to have everything the same, and you guys definitely bring a new element, and I know Austin can agree with that. He'll probably even describe it in more words than I could. But,
yeah, that's an understatement. I can tell you that. Because when I seen Pro Wrestling Historical Society, and I seen Terry Kent was posting on that group when it just started out, and he was posting every single day. I'm like, oh my God, there's something we need to do. We need to start it. We need to start its own show up. So we got Jimmy Wheeler and Greg Stellion to be the two hosts of the show in the beginning. And mind blowing. I'm not kidding you. I learned so much in 1 or 2 hours that they did the first show than I did in a long time, and that continued. Every single time I listened to one of their shows, and eventually Terry went on to be the third host for the show, and completely, mind blown. Again, I can't even tell you how much history was going into that show on a weekly basis. It was. I don't have any words for it. It was great, and people who have not actually checked out the show or haven't had a chance to, you can go to pipebombradio.weebly.com and look at all the past episodes. You're not going to be disappointed, because every single one of them packed I keep on saying every single second. I'm not even kidding you. If you want to learn about professional wrestling history going way back, you need to watch those shows. Listen to those shows.
I have to thank Greg and Jimmy. I filled in. Jimmy called me, to be honest, here between God, y'all, and everybody. I think it was the second show. Jimmy and I had become friends by writing different articles so much on the Facebook website, and we just talked, and I said, hey, if you guys ever need any more help, just let me know sometime. And about 15 minutes before the second show or something, there was emergency or whatever, and Jimmy called me up and says, you want to be on? I said, yeah. And from there, I never went off. Things just worked out, and emergency here and there, I was always filling in, or we made it three of us. Presently, Jimmy's job is taking him away, but Greg and Jimmy gets all the props. Greg is the big picture guy. I consider them the historians, as I keep telling y'all before, too. I'm just an old guy that's watched wrestling since '63 and know a lot of names and know a lot about, especially the Mid-Atlantic. But those two guys get all the props, and y'all get really the props for having us on, so we really appreciate it.
It is our pleasure and our continued honor to do so. And, from some of the guests that you guys have had on, I'll be honest, I didn't know a lot of them, but listening in, obviously, I'm listening into the show, obviously, but after last Sunday's show with Mr. Shire, of course, Mr. Koloff is always a pleasure to speak with. He is such a sweet man. But Mr. Shire was such an informative guy. 2 hours was just not enough. It wasn't enough.
He was on one show for 2 whole hours, and then last night we had him on for 45 minutes, an hour. and it's not enough. And then Scott Steele, your last guest just mentioned Mark James. I got to meet Scott and Mark down at FanFest recently in Charlotte, where I'm still mad at Austin for not showing up. And
I know, you should get on
I was
about
planning
that.
on having. I didn't hardly spend much time at the FanFest much. I went and bought books, and I was planning on eating lunch and dinner and breakfast with Austin every day, and pick his brain and talk, because we talk so much on the phone and chatting. And I'm still upset at him, but I won't mention that ever again, that I'm upset at him. And
I actually planned on being there. I had full intentions to. But
he lied to me. Yeah, he lied. And but at least I got to meet his good camera friend. So we got
John Paul.
Chat a couple times. Yeah, John Paul was great.
Yes.
He came by and took my picture with Adrian Street and all at the dinner table and all, and Miss Linda. And it was just great. I hate to say embarrassingly, it was my first fan fest I'd ever been to, and it was fantastic. It was great. And like the only way it could have been better is Felix and Austin. Everybody would have been there. But Austin, Felix didn't lie to me. Austin did. He said he was going to be there. He was going to be there. The next minute, I can't make it. I've got to. But he had a good reason. I give him a hard time. He had a good reason, and so I'll let him off this time.
No, I want
and,
to be the Charlotte Fan Fest with everybody that was there. I mean, Ricky Steamboat, the couple of the Four Horsemen.
There was over 40 top wrestlers and managers and on
Definitely.
and on. Yeah, there. And it was great. Well, I can let you guys run. I just appreciate it. Mark James, Scott Steele, Barry Rose. I mean, all these guys have just taught me so much, and we'll be hearing more from them in the future. Jimmy Valiant just invited me down to his camp, and Felix.
How cool is that?
We figured it out how I can do a live recording and get it to you guys. So I'm excited about that. Jimmy's right here in the state of Virginia, so I can go down to his camp and his museum and Hall of Fame and all he's got down there. And it's a couple hours away, so I'm looking forward to that. Sounds like something Austin would like to do, but too bad it's me.
Oh, yeah.
He's in New Orleans, but I'm going to Jimmy Valiant's place and get a live interview with him and have it on the radio show here very soon. So
I look forward to it. And, Terry, we thank you so much for taking time tonight to call in to the show, and we look forward to more adventures on Sunday nights and more surprises in store, without a doubt.
Well, as you know, I'm so shy. Y'all really, I had to force myself to call. I'm so shy, just like Austin is. I'm very shy, but I'm trying to get over it. I'm trying to go to Toastmasters.
Shy? I didn't know Austin was shy.
Just like I am, and I'm trying to go to Toastmasters to learn how to talk and be in front of the public more, like Felix is teaching me. But I'm trying to learn, and I'll get over my shyness, and I'll try to get Austin to speak up a little bit more in the future too.
All right, Terry. You have yourself a good night.
God bless you guys. You guys are the greatest. I feel like I've known you my entire life. I feel like you're best friends. I really appreciate you. And everybody keep supporting them and keep supporting our show. I appreciate everybody. God bless you. Thank you.
Good night, man.
Yeah, man.
Good night, man.
And the calls just keep coming in. We do have another caller calling in now. In fact, he is from area code 905. Hello, you're on with Austin, Nate, and myself, Felix. How you doing?
Hey, guys.
It's Elio with two N's, Canella.
Elio, two N's, Canella. Finally, he returns.
Yeah, just called in to say congratulations on 100 episodes.
We appreciate that. Well, you definitely have helped us along the way. You introduced us to the man, the voice behind the voice, Nate Milton.
How's it going, Nate?
Doing good, man. Doing good, brother. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
You been listening into the show tonight?
Yep, I'm listening in. I was listening to the interview you just did.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say Nate's a voice among voices. I'm not kidding you. When I heard him a few weeks ago,
in his head, so he's a great voice. I don't know.
I don't know. It's almost magical, like my Subway tuna sandwiches that I get every single Friday night.
Oh, good Lord. Here we go with the tuna and tomato sandwiches and his Earl Grey tea.
When I can, and trust me, Dan, this is no, I'm not criticizing at all. When I compare you to a magical Subway tuna tomato sandwich, That's the best compliment you get from me, especially because, I mean, when I heard your voice a couple weeks ago, I'm like, we have to have this guy on Tuesday nights every single time. Because, I mean, Elio has an ear for talented voices.
Well, I don't know how he does it. I try to do it. I just can't do it that good.
But you know what, though? Your other gifts that you have right now, Elio, I have to say, you may not have Nate's voice, but you do have the computer savvy. You're the tech set. You're our tech person. You're the one that creates all these new intros for us with Nate's voice in them. So where you lack in the voice, you make up in other areas. That goes without saying. You're definitely an asset to the team, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Nate. You were going to say something. I cut you off completely.
Well, first I was going to say, is Subway sponsoring this show? I mean, all this talk about tuna sandwiches with tomato. I'm getting hungry now, man. But,
I know. It's something people...
That's a good idea to start talking either in my area of California or somewhere around, because you all got it easier. I think you guys have more fun down in the South and in Elio's case up in Canada, because it's so completely dry and boring here in California. I mean, the most entertaining thing that happens here is that we get a freaking earthquake every 10 to 20 years, and got the beaches, and in Austin's words, we got a whole bunch of orange people.
Yeah, oranges. Orange is glorious. I thought Florida was better.
I mean, you all got the Mid-Atlantic Fan Fest, you got the Legends Reunion, you got this, you got that, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing over here? I need to get my ass over there.
I know, I want to go there too.
I'm just saying, you know. But, no, we're definitely proud of the success we've gotten and the connections we've been able to make. And as shown here tonight, another great interview that we were able to conduct with a great man that's seen and done it all and continues to do it all again with it right now. So, you know, it just tells you that don't give up on your dreams, follow them all the way through, and I think it's one of Austin's sayings that he likes to talk about quite a bit on the show. If you don't believe me, listen to the show.
Well, I just uploaded last week's show, and I was looking at the numbers. We're up to 108 subscribers.
I'm sorry, how many?
108.
Hey, the numbers keep going. Keep getting more listens, and that's on our YouTube channel, Pipebomb Radio on YouTube. You get to check out all the shows we have there and comment. And I think by far, two of our most popular, and I know Austin knows and I know Elio knows, probably our most controversial. But that goes without saying, because we've had controversy on the show quite a bit. But the most controversial and most popular show we've had was Ahmed Johnson.
Oh, my God, yes.
I appreciated his honesty, his brutal honesty about the business and how he feels about it. My goodness, what an interview, though.
I can just imagine. I can just imagine like that. That just seems like the controversy in a bucket right there. You just Ahmed Johnson, give us your take on the industry, Ahmed Johnson, and nothing controversial is going to happen there.
But on the other hand, you go from the bad. Well, it wasn't even really bad. It was enjoyable because Austin and I had fun. But you go to the other side of the flip of the coin there, and you think about the Von Erich Nation. We were nowhere near prepared for what we were in store when I contacted Kevin Von Erich's PR person, Lisa. Sweet person, by the way. If you ever get a chance to talk to her, she's a sweetheart. But the Von Erich Nation in droves. I mean, and they're still running wild today. Oh my God.
I remember
we planned it for them in November. I'm sorry?
No, you continue.
No, I was just saying, when he had it set up for November just for Kevin, I mean, our Facebook blew up, our Twitter blew up. We got more friend requests than from people we don't even know. But we were lucky to be calling friends now, like a Claudia, like Lisa, and even Kevin. You know, I'm friends with Kevin on his Facebook. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
They had the entire story here. We set up this event page. You set it up or Lisa set it up, I'm not sure. And so many people were posting on that page, joining the page. We kept on getting notifications. It almost sounded like we're creating a song or something. And it was insane that entire day. So what we have to do is close the actual event page down and switch it to something else where people continue to still getting noticed, and still today.
Well, what we did was, if
stands.
you remember, we had Lisa just direct people just to the Facebook page because
Yeah.
it was getting on her nerves. She was calling me and said, Felix, please turn this thing off. Please just turn it off. It's driving me crazy. I'm getting notifications every 10 seconds. Literally, it was every 10 seconds.
I swear to God, and the funny thing about it is that's still the most listened to show of all time for Pipebomb Radio, and we've had a lot of them on. Kevin Von Erich still reigns as the main man when it comes to interviews.
I think
he was such a great guy.
I think
such a great guy.
That really shouldn't be a surprise, though, because, when Elio first hit me up about doing the intros for the voiceover, I was like, let me check this show out because, I just can't give my voice to everybody. It's not a Subway sandwich to be passed around. I said, let me check out, with tomato, I said, let me check out Pipebomb Radio and see what they got going on over there. And as a old school world-class fan, the Kevin Von Erich show was the first one I clicked on, and I was like, these guys know what they're doing. This is an awesome interview. And then to have him come back with his son.
Yes.
That was pretty awesome, So as soon as I heard that, I was a fan, and so now it's pretty cool that I'm actually here with you guys talking. But that Von Erich interview, I think it's no surprise to me that it's still, your highest rated show.
It was a lot of fun. On the other hand, and Elio he can vouch for this one too because he's heard it because he's uploaded all of our shows to YouTube. This is not to bash anybody because I enjoyed every one of our guests, every one of them, because they all brought something different to us, because we learned about them. Everybody got their start somewhere. I did not expect, and all I'm going to say is this, I didn't expect one of our guests to call into the show drunk, so badly drunk that he was talking about he could have been my daddy, and that Austin could have been his grandson. And I'm like, oh hell no. Wow. I'm not even going to say I'm not going to mention any names. If you want to know, you'll hear it on the show. That's all I'm going to say.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
No disrespect to that man, but he was a pleasure to speak with when we were able to actually get an interview. But afterwards, it was like, ay caramba. Otherwise, it was fun. We from the people we've had on, even the ladies we've had on, we've had some interesting ladies, and. What I'm going to say is this. When you get into the wrestling business, obviously people study who they want to kind of make their style, their performance after, emulate somewhat someone's in-ring, well, you know what I mean. I'm just going to go off of that. If you don't know somebody, don't say you don't know them, especially if they died. That was kind of, yikes. You didn't want to say nothing. And like I said, I'm not trying to bash. It was kind of weird moments, funny moments, silly moments. And to a more positive note, I got to touch on one other one that kind of, we talked about Blackjack. Just a little over a month later, we would land, without a doubt, the biggest interview we would ever have at that point in time. With the one and only, just about a month after he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, Mr. Bruno Sammartino. He granted us 30 minutes of his time. Thanks to a very good friend of ours that we lost recently. We didn't know him as well as Bruno did, but you know what? He was really one of the nicest guys and easy person to work with, Mr. Marty Lazaro, who passed away this past June. But he hooked us up with Mr. Sammartino, and what a treat. That was another one where Austin was pretty much, all you heard was the crickets chirping. Because he was listening. All he did was, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, though, because he did speak from time to time, but for the most part, he was quiet.
This is the thing. With people like that, if you go into, a day and you finally get a person like, this is why I love doing this, is because once you finally get a person like Bruno Sammartino on your show, it's like, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm on a show interviewing Bruno Sammartino, WWE Hall of Famer, the second WWE champion of all time, the longest reigning WWE champion of all time. What do you say? What do you say with a person like that, with the history that he's had behind him? It's something that'll never forget.
You probably were like,
I can vouch for that as well.
What was that? Chris Farley when he used to do that skit on SNL where he interviewed famous people.
Yep.
You remember that skit? He's like, I can imagine him being like, hey, Mr. Sammartino, remember when you wrestled at Madison Square Garden? Yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's gotta be crazy though. Like when you wake up in the morning, just to know that at some point in your day you're going to talk to somebody as legendary as Bruno Sammartino. Like that's a really cool thing.
Absolutely, definitely one of our most proudest moments. And we're very proud that we were able to win.
I actually want to go around the table here. So a round table we have here right now, and I want to ask everybody their favorite Pipebomb radio show. Like any person that's been on the show before, who do you think the best one is? And not to slate anybody else, just saying your personal favorite.
Don't all answer at once now. I guess I got to start. I guess I'll start. If I had to choose one, I don't know if I don't know if I can do that. I'll try that though. You know what? From the perspective of a Bruno, you know what? He would be up there. But from one that was a lot of fun, I would go. And you may think I'm crazy for saying this, but you know what? I had a lot of fun talking to Jameson. He was fun. Bushwhacker Luke was fun. But to narrow it down to one, I don't know if that's possible. Because you can vouch for this too, Austin. Can you really narrow it down to just one?
That's what I'm saying. It's a hard question to answer, but as I said, not to say to anybody else. Saying if you had to pick your favorite one that you like to listen to, that you had fun listening. I know you, and I keep on saying it's a really hard question to answer. But if you had to choose one, what would it be?
How about you, Elio?
Actually, one that I kind of liked was in May, the one you did with Angel from ACW.
Oh yes, Angel Medina.
Yeah.
Remember him? Yeah.
That was an interesting
I remember
one.
that too.
And how about you, Nate? I mean, have you listened to many of the shows in the past, or I know you listened to the
I've listened to
Bruno
a handful of shows. A handful of shows I've listened to. I'd say still my favorite has got to be Kevin Von Erich, just as a world class mark, and just kind of the 15-year-old Nate just kind of sprung to life, and it's like that was one of my wrestling heroes growing up. So that was definitely one. And in terms of since I've been on the show, I've enjoyed all of the conversations we've had, but the talk we had with Danny Cage, I thought that was a pretty interesting talk from a conversation with somebody that you really wouldn't say as I want to hear from that guy, but just getting on and talking with him about his life and the school, I thought that was really insightful.
I definitely I'm going to get with Lisa, and I want to see about getting Kevin back on again real soon. If anything, just Kevin, or maybe Kevin and the boys, if the boys aren't too busy. You know what? Kevin deserves a part 3. We had him on when he brought his sons, but it was more about the new generation at that one for that particular show. So I guess in a way you could call it a part 2, I guess, if you will. But we definitely deserve to bring him back, and Lisa too. You'll get to talk with her. She's a sweet person. She don't talk much, but she's definitely on the line with us. And Kevin, he told us a great story about kayfabe. And if you have heard that show, I know Nate said he did, so you know a little bit about what I'm saying. How they treated kayfabe back then, and call for Mr. Kayfabian.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I hear the crickets chirping again. You guys there?
Yeah,
hello,
my
is this
favorite
on?
episode of the show. Yeah, my favorite episode of in Pipebomb Radio. I'm going to toe the line here. It's kind of in between. Number one would be Blackjack Mulligan, without a doubt, and that's obvious. It's for obvious reasons. Every single show we had with him were just packed with information, and I've learned so much from him. But besides that one, talking to Dan Severn back in May, I believe, or May. I think it's before May or some April or April or June. I'm not
toward
sure.
the end of April, early May this year. Yeah. He was a hard one to get, but I'm glad we got him.
I know. He was he said that he's not politically correct. If you're talking about a person like that, he does not hold anything back. He's such a funny guy, and a UFC Hall of Famer. I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with him.
Oh yeah, very insightful man, very knowledge. He had a lot of knowledge about, and he's very well spoken.
Actually,
and you know, and one of the things that Austin admires about some people that come on the show, especially these kind of people, is when they don't sugarcoat things and they keep it real. You know, just like Danny Cage. Danny Cage, he didn't sugarcoat a thing. And that's what I think I enjoyed about him the most. He kept it real.
Yes.
And speaking of Danny Cage, I'm doing my best to not be a Padawan.
Oh, will you stop?
I'm just telling you this, guys. I actually, after the interview, because I asked a question about what he thought about the more opportunity somebody gets if they become a college wrestler than going to WWE, if they get scouted better, if all that type of stuff. Then he's like, well, let me tell you something, you little Padawan. I'm like, Padawan? I didn't know what that meant, so I Googled it, because Google obviously is the answer to everything. And
nowadays.
Yeah, so, I got a little bit of work to do, I guess, I mean, I respect him. I respect him so much, and I don't know if he really knows that, but I really do.
Yes, you got a
sure
ways to go before you can become a Jedi. You're not a Jedi yet.
No, but you know what? I don't think he meant to say anything other than the fact that he just wanted you to understand how he views things and why things are the way they are, or why things should be the way they are. It wasn't nothing necessarily to kind of attack you in any way, if that's what you felt. I don't know if he did or not.
No, I didn't know what it meant. First, I never watched Star Wars, so maybe the couple of the movies, but I never really checked with the entire series. I just didn't know what it meant, so I had to refer to Google, because I get all my answers from Google. Well, some of them. You couldn't get I'm sorry.
There was one particular instance when we did our very, very first. I think it was our very first. I had to believe it was our very first double feature in one show. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, because my memory is horrible. You know that. Was
I know.
Christopher Daniels and I believe Stevie Richards.
No, wasn't it Vinny Marseglia?
Oh yeah, it was Vinny Marseglia and Paul London.
No, Paul London was with Stevie Richards. Vinny Marseglia.
Oh yeah. We got to switch.
See, we got the names backwards. See, we should know this. Come on now.
No, it was who was it? Vinny and Christopher Daniels, and then it was Steve Richards and Paul London. I believe that we had Stevie and Paul London on before we had Chris and Vinny.
Yes, okay. Well, not many people know it was a pre-recorded interview, and the only reason I say that.
Yeah, we finally revealed what happened. Obviously.
Well, obviously, if they couldn't tell it already, they should know now.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to the show, you're gonna be. And we were trying to tell everybody it was the most live show you'd ever listened to in your entire life, which is so funny about it. I actually went and listened to it the other day. It's so noticeable. It's like, oh yeah, you guys were definitely live.
Well, you know what though, for what it was, I was just glad Stevie had agreed to come on and do a show with us. And believe it or not, the way we got this was by a promoter that shall be named nameless, that was a former guest on our show. He made it happen. He also got us Matt Hardy. Now, I don't know why I was so nervous with Matt Hardy. I fumbled my words. I said wrong matches, and I'm thinking, I look back and I'm like, oh, my God, what a tool I sounded like that night. Oh, that was horrible. That was like I was off that night. But it was great to talk with Matt. Matt was a great guy, very insightful, a lot of knowledge. Didn't mind keeping it real with us as well, because we talked about his rivalry with Edge and Lita, and how a lot of that was pretty much staged. Not all of it was real. I didn't realize that. See, I'm looking at it as like a fan, so it looked, obviously, if it looked real, you'll feel it, and I felt it.
And a good friend of the show that we definitely have to mention a couple times, Julie Hart. I mean, if you guys talk to her, listen to the interview that we've had with her, she is the most sweetest person you can ever listen to in your entire life.
Yeah, she would have to be up there with one of my favorites as well, because she didn't make light. She made light of the fact that she really knew nothing about wrestling when she first met Brett. She wrote her book and brought us into her world at that time, being married to him, and afterwards. And even now, up to now, she's always been a great person to talk to. Very helpful when we did a Randy Savage tribute back in November last year. She shared some memories of meeting when Liz and Randy actually met. I think it was the daughter Jade, I want to say. always willing to help whenever she could. We've had her on twice, and then, of course, there's some pre-recorded comments we set up for that show, for that Randy tribute. Always one of the sweetest, nicest people. She shared an Owen memory that I shared on I think it was our top 15 of 2013, I think it was.
Yep,
was it 15 or was it? Yeah, it was 15. It was 15, that's right. And, yeah, that's, and then and although it doesn't get mentioned anymore like it was, we actually brought on 2 contestants that were on The Rock's show last year, The Hero.
Yes.
That was
Darnell
pretty crazy. I
and
didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, because I remember watching The Hero, and I was addicted to that show. And the thing is, if anybody knows me, I mostly watch wrestling. That's all I watch. It takes something very rare for me to actually get out of watching wrestling. I mean, not actually get out of watching wrestling, like watch something other than wrestling, another TV show. So
what you're saying, Austin, is you're a wrestling fan, right? I'm kidding.
Yeah, but the thing is, I turned on the show, The Hero, because of The Rock, just to see how he would do the series, which I knew he was going to do amazing, but I wanted to see the entire idea about it, and I got addicted to the show. That is that is the greatest understatement I can make. And then you see these guys like Darnell and Athena. Athena was a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, and eventually I caught up in the show. Same with Darnell. I believe Darnell was actually a runner-up to Patty O'Neal, and we both had him on the show, and I mean, phenomenal people.
Absolutely. And I got to touch on another tribute show we did, which was for the late, great wrestling manager Paul Bearer. I loved the way we set that up. I enjoyed it so much. And listening to Paul's son, DJ Pringle, on with us, he told us a little story about a little clip that we played when it was at home with Paul Bearer from one of the old Coliseum videos from the early 90s. It was so much fun to talk to him. Do you remember that, Elio?
I'm surprised they didn't hit us with copyrights for the Undertaker's theme in that clip.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love them copyright thingies. They should go bleep themselves, but, that's just my opinion.
No,
I said bleep. I didn't say nothing else.
I tried to get around that. I managed to get around it.
But nonetheless, the interview was a lot of fun. DJ, he brought us into his world and told us a lot about living with, what life was like as the son of a wrestling manager, and one who actually would get in the ring, too. Percy Pringle from the World Class days. We go back to World Class quite a bit. And
it all comes back to World Class.
Doesn't it? I'm saying. But a lot of fun.
We were speaking about managers. The most recent tribute show we actually did with Jared and Kathy Fitzpatrick for the Sensational Sherry tribute show. And if none of you know, it's Jared was actually Sherry's son, and Kathy Fitzpatrick is actually her best friend, or what was her best friend, and that was a phenomenal show. I mean, it really was awesome.
It was probably one of the most emotional and yet enjoyable and yet funny all at the same time, because, you know what, above anything else, when it comes right down to it, wrestling aside, it was about a boy who's missing his mom. Because she was taken way too soon. And a woman who lost a dear friend who was like a sister to her. We had some clips on that show too. I'm sorry?
What Sensational Sherry meant to me when I was watching her, and what's funny about this, and I bet all of you can agree with me when I'm saying this. Well, you didn't not know that Sensational Sherry was at ringside, and I made this comparison. Like when I can't hear the comments that Bobby Heenan makes, the commentary, that makes me angry because Bobby Heenan's entertaining. And I want to hear Sensational Sherry, screaming at the top of her lungs, whoever she was managing. You noticed her definitely, and I'm like, I wanted to hear that snarky comic that Bobby Heenan was about to make, but Sensational Sherry was on the other side screaming.
Yeah, Sherry could scream. She was definitely very loud but very tough woman.
Best.
And, well, speaking to Mr. Lanny Poffo again last fall, we're going to get him back on here eventually down the line as well, and make it about him. Because, in all fairness, I know a lot of people bring him on, and the first thing they want to talk about is the Macho Man Randy Savage, and, rightfully so. That was his big brother, He loved his brother, and he always will, and he'll always do what he can to preserve that memory. But probably one of the most insightful, one of the most intelligent-speaking guests I've ever spoken to. Very caring guy that really enjoys interacting with fans. Told a great story about a very young, I don't remember what nationality she was, came on to, they met, and she was able to recite the poem. Now, take a trip on this, guys. A poem that he read for the Macho King Randy Savage and the Sensational Queen during their coronation, word for word. And this kid was not even around during that time. She knew it because, from what the parents said, that she had watched it numerous times on YouTube. So when she was able to meet him, she was able to recite it to him. And that really was probably one of the moments where it really touched his heart, because fans of all ages really enjoy what these guys and these gals do, for us. And I think that was definitely a great moment, and I enjoyed hearing that story.
Very cool. Very, very cool story.
And I think you're going back into speaking with, and I believe it was last June. Not this past June. I mean, it was like last year in June. Tito Santana. That was an awesome interview. How hard it was to get him on, you'd be surprised, because he's actually a school teacher. Yeah, he's actually a school teacher and has his own hairstyling. His wife, he owns this
hair salon.
Yeah, and so when I say it was an honor actually to have him on the show, it definitely was to speak with a person like him who was actually in the first, I think it was the first 10 WrestleManias.
No, I think it was 9.
First 9, right?
Might have been 9 or 8, possibly 8 or 9, somewhere around there.
I think it was 8.
Yes, Tito was tough to get. I mean, he's from the old school. He talked about Gorilla Monsoon, Toots Mondt, Vince McMahon Sr. Very insightful, very intelligent man as well. And I asked him. I said, being as big as you are, as your name, you're still known. Do your students ever really have a mark out moment? Be like, well, he said, my students they weren't around, but their parents might have been, so they only know me as Senor Solis or Mr. Solis. But overall, he loves what he does. And as of now, guys, Elio, you're welcome to hang in there, but we do have another caller calling in.
Okay.
You mind if I put you on hold for a moment, man?
Actually, I'm going to let you guys go and I'm going to tune in to the rest of the show.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Thanks for calling, Elio.
All right.
Our next caller is calling in. He was the very first guest. The very first guest as the return of Pipebomb Radio. The one and only former Tough Enough contestant, Mr. Martin Casals, and I still think I say his name wrong, but I guess he'll correct me if I did. Mr. Martin, how you doing, man?
Doing all right. Actually, you said that one pretty right. The first time, not so much, but the first time you did pretty well.
I know. When I actually said it, and I speak to people, I'm like, is it Martin Cautious? I'm like, no, it's not Cautious. It's just South.
They said it wrong this weekend too. So I was out in Texas, and they said it wrong twice. I was like, oh my gosh.
But, as we celebrated our 100th episode, we thought, what better way to do this than to bring back the guy who was our very first guest when we started this up again back in January of last year. And I've spoken to you, Martin, a few times over the years, and I've always enjoyed talking to you because you have such a great, insight on a lot, a viewpoint on a lot of things, whether it be professional wrestling or just people that you've worked with in general, and talking about the tough enough experience that you had a few years ago. I know that gets brought up quite a bit, and you're still doing your wrestling thing now. But I mean, has there been any changes in the last year, or even the last few years or so, in your career now? I mean, what are you up to these days?
Oh well, yeah, I'm wrestling all over as always. I'm going to Germany in October.
Nice.
That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be actually my first international thing. I've been talking with Canada and Mexico about going over there. and let's see, I had my WWE tryout earlier this year,
Nice.
and then I I can't say what it is, but I just signed something pretty awesome in coming up that you'll find out something.
Okay,
you know,
not WWE, but you'll find something pretty exciting for myself.
Oh, very cool. Hey, that's so cool.
Speaking about going to a place like Germany, and the style in Germany is different from. And there's always different styles around the world, wherever you go. You know, there's the British style and the Germany and everything. So many places. Are you looking forward to kind of connecting with that?
And that's the main reason I'm going down there. Build them out to only get as much experience as I can. So that's one reason I'm going down there. Just train with, I don't know if you guys remember Alex, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, I have.
That's Wonder Kid.
I'm sorry? That's
Wonder Kid.
Yes.
Right, going down. So hopefully he's teaching you more dance moves.
Oh, here we go.
Nice.
Because I got the Latin hips. I'm going to leave the disco to them, so.
And have you actually reached out to the people out in Japan about maybe coming out there and doing a little work out there?
I've put out the feelers. We're going to see the landscape so different, and it's such a big thing out there. So, yeah, I was actually just speaking with Rob Conway this weekend about Japan. He's just done a lot of Japan stuff. Yeah, so I tagged teamed with Rob Conway this weekend, and we were talking about that, Japan a lot, and just trying to see where it's going to bite. So,
okay.
I'd love to work that strong style, especially since now I've gotten bigger. So Rob said it's going to help me because the strong style is a whole different style. And
Oh yeah.
I know you get so big because they kick you so hard, it leaves a bunch of swelling. That's how you get so big in Japan, especially with guys like Kenta, who was recently signed with WWE. I mean, going to Japan, it's something like, and I've never been there, but just from reading and seeing all the experiences that other people have had, it's definitely an experience.
Yeah, I'm working with a guy named Tom Howard. He used to run a UPW training center out in California. He did a lot of things in Japan, so I've been working with him, kind of learning some stuff just about how Japan style works, and definitely hoping to get out there soon.
Very cool. And do you stay in contact currently with? I think I see you stay in contact, and correct me if I'm wrong, with Eric Watts and AJ Kirsch. Do you stay in contact with anybody else from the old Tough Enough crew?
Eric and AJ are mostly Matt Cross. Every once in a blue moon I speak with Rima, but it's really AJ, Eric, and Matt Cross. Those are my boys. So, yeah, I haven't seen Matt Cross on American Ninja Warrior yet, and that's tearing me up because I want to see it.
Me too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I did see that post.
I want to do that. I want to do that one of these days. American
you
Ninja Warrior.
That?
I know, it's crazy.
I feel like I wouldn't be very good on American Ninja Warrior. So
hey.
I'm really good at knocking stuff down, not really climbing up them.
Try Wipeout.
Uh-oh.
It was based in California.
I don't know. What do you think about Wipeout there, Martin?
I would love to do Wipeout, actually. I
really?
know anyone who does Wipeout. Wipeout, I'm calling you out. I would love to be all up inside you. So.
There you go.
Yeah, there's an app. There's like a phone app too, so I'll be practicing on there too. Oh yeah.
Hey.
And did you actually take part in any of these ice bucket challenges? I don't think I've seen any videos of you. Have you actually done that yet?
I have not done it yet. I've been challenged more times than I can count, to be honest.
I bet.
And so obviously I failed multiple times with the 24 hours. But it really comes down to making sure it brings awareness to the cause.
Oh, of course.
And I want to do something that sticks out rather than dumping ice on my head. And because I'll dump ice on my head for sure, but I want to do something that kind of is a little bit different. I just need to find a time. Like this weekend I was in Texas. The other weekend I was in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I've just been traveling a lot more, and I've just been a little bit busy
to
sit down and collect some things for some ice. So.
You know, I actually wouldn't mind seeing you actually going up to like the Monster Factory or even down below we're in Austin's neck of the woods with the Wildcat and working with Luke Hawx or even Danny Cage out there with them.
That is exactly where I went, to the Monster Factory down there. They had a Joel Gertner seminar.
Oh,
went down there.
I heard about that.
That's right. I actually went down to that. So, well, I guess up here from Salt Lake. I went up to there to the Monster Factory. It's a pretty cool place. You got a gym in there, some folk-style wrestling mats in there, and a nice ring. So I was speaking with a little bit with Cage and see what we can do.
That's very cool, man. Very happy for you on that. And before we let you go, I just want to ask if you have any other shows, if you have shows coming up, any social media you want to plug?
Yeah, of course. Honestly, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook, literally to make it easy as I can, it's my name. So Martin Casaus, C-A-S-A-U-S, Casaus. So that's how you say it, Martin Casaus. It's at Martin Casaus on Instagram, at Martin Casaus on Twitter, and Facebook.com/Martin Casaus. That's how you find me. I keep it simple as possible. If you write me, I will do everything that I can to write you back, because without fans, I don't have a job in wrestling world. So please write me, hit me up, let me know. That's right. I try and get as much as I can with you, and hit me up. And as far as shows, again, I signed something recent I can't talk about yet, so that's going to be exciting. Okay. We'll hear about it. So maybe I'll come on here and make the announcement. You never know.
Okay.
But and then I got there's a lot of shows, a lot of states. So too many to mention at this point, actually.
And we're happy for you, man, because you deserve all the success you're getting. You've worked hard for it, and we're just thankful that you were our very first guest as we revamped the show last year, and we thank you for joining us for our 100th episode.
And congratulations on getting to 100.
We're very proud of that, and we're very proud to have you join us again tonight just to update us on how you've been. We'll go ahead and let you go for tonight, and we'll definitely be in touch. And like you said, maybe for that announcement, we'll bring you back to tell us let everybody know what you're up to, what you're going to be doing.
Sound stuff, a lot of good stuff ahead. So try to keep up.
I'll definitely be in touch, man.
All right, thank you. You guys have a good one. Congratulations.
You too, man. Well, from our first guest to our 100th, Mr. Martin Casaus. I think I can say that right now. All right. But very nice guy, very, very approachable. He's always, anytime I've ever messaged him, he's always messaged back. If I post anything, he's a very nice guy. So he was definitely one of the ones that I felt could have won Tough Enough. I know he gets told that hundreds and hundreds of times. Considering the fact that the guy that won, and he's no longer with WWE, and the runner-up doesn't even wrestle anymore. So, yeah,
go figure.
That's where we're at now.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I know I know you probably watched this when Andy Levine, the only time he was actually on WTV, on actual Raw, was when he won the show. Then like a week later or a month later, he was released, and now he doesn't even wrestle either.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
yes, AJ is still a beast. AJ Kirsch, he still wrestles out here in California. Martin still wrestles. Eric still wrestles. You wouldn't think he would, considering he was the first person that Steve Austin got in the face of and be like, you need to step up, son.
A lot of times, though, when you look at Tough Enough, even going back in the past seasons, it's always the guys that don't win that I think have the better long-term prospects for a career, because the guys that do win kind of get forced into a spot that they're not really ready for.
Very true.
Because I always thought when I actually watched the Tough Enough series, I was waiting for Martin actually, because he looked at the guy who really was really passionate about it. Not saying the others weren't. I mean, maybe the runner-up, maybe the girl that said Melina and Alicia Fox was the best match of all time, which I totally agree with her. I mean, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat just close second. But I'm just kidding. And ultimately, that girl actually went on, I believe, to be Naomi. Isn't she Naomi in WWE right now?
No, she's Cameron.
Oh yeah, Cameron. Yes, two different people. Yeah, Cameron, right? That's insane to me. And then Martin Casaus. Still doing his thing. I hope to hear his announcement soon. Hope it's here.
Hey, like I said, you never know. It could happen. I could get in touch with him if he wants to reveal it to us. We'd be more than happy to allow him to reveal that big surprise. We were able to do that when we unveiled the surprise from NW. Well, actually, we didn't. We had a guest come on and unveil it for them on here first.
Big Daddy Yum Yum. Byron Wilcox. I'm going to be seeing him this weekend. Yeah, I'm going to be seeing him this weekend at the NWA Elite Show, where he defends his NWA. We've actually had a hard time speaking about the history of Pipebomb Radio. Announcing this title's name is quite the challenge if you say it 5 times in a row. NWA Elite, in the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship. He's going to be defending it for the first time ever at the Grand Collier Recreation Center in Duloc, Louisiana, for the NWA Elite Show. And I actually just got my hands on the magazine a few days ago, the NWA Ringside magazine, which features not 1, not 2, but 3 of Pipebomb Radio's former guests. We have on the front cover, former guest from Pipebomb Radio, Rob Conway, NWA World Heavyweight Champion, along with NWA Women's Champion Barbie Hayden, along with NWA North American Heavyweight Champion Byron Wilcox. I mean, those champions galore have been on Pipebomb Radio. Speaking of champions, I know Nate can definitely vouch for this. ROH World Champion Michael Elgin has been on the show before.
Yep.
Yeah. And Elgin is a beast.
Yeah, that's
I'm sure I was going to agree with that.
I know. Michael Elgin is something else. I knew he was going to be something beforehand, but I mean, now having that Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title around his waist is just added so much to him as a wrestler. Speaking of wrestlers from Ring of Honor, Matt Taven, longest reigning ROH TV champion of all time. We've had him on here. One of the first guests in the show, I believe, the third guest we've actually had on. After Darius Thomas, who's doing his thing on in Ring of Honor as well.
You know, Kenny, I keep saying Kenny. Matt Taven was, he was enjoyable to speak with because I at that time when I spoke with him, I wasn't too familiar with his work. I mean, I don't follow Ring of Honor. I'll be honest, I don't. I didn't then. I do more. I know more now than I did then. How about that? Same thing can be said about Darius Thomas. Didn't know much about him at the time, but as I started watching and seeing him, I was like, wow, Ring of Honor ain't no joke. They know the business. But we've had a lot of great guests, and by far one of the funniest ones I've had this year. And there were a couple of times that Austin and myself were not able to be on the show for whatever reason. I'll give you an example. When we had Kevin Von Erich with his sons, it was myself and DJ Pringle hosting the show. Austin wasn't able to make it for whatever reason at that time. And then you fast forward a few months later, I spoke to Killer B. Brian Blair, who is going to be stepping in as the new president of the Cauliflower Alley. He told a great story, working in the WWE, being trained by Hiro Matsuda. Another great interview. Would be most recently, I don't think I laughed as much as I did when I spoke to Mr. Booker T. From the moment, shut up. I'm not rubbing it in. It's because of the fact that he put me on the spot because I should have done a better intro. I'm not lying. I gave a real hammy intro when he told me, hey, what's up with my intro, man? I'm a former WCW champion, 5-time, And I was like, oh, you're right. So I threw in a little hammy intro, and he starts laughing. And he was fun to talk with. He was very upfront. He talked about everything he could, working with Sherry, working with his brother, WCW, even now in the WWE, and of course to promote his new company that he's doing out there out of Texas, and doing well. I mean, he's got his wife there as a general manager, or as he put it, the boss. He's got his brother back in wrestling, and talked about the Summer of Champions. They're making a name for themselves out there. These guys can definitely come in and work for Booker and learn their craft well. And I wasn't trying to rub it in, Austin. I was just saying because even then, when I was gone, I had to be gone for 2 shows, for being the fact that I was still going to school, and y'all got on there and you talked about biscuits. I think it was biscuits.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about with Nate about this.
Oh, good
this
Lord.
Whole situation. But yeah, Nate, we were actually talking about earlier with Subway sandwiches and tomato and tuna, which is, I'm not even kidding, magical is an understatement. But I'm going to biscuits and I was talking to Adam Page, Ring of Honor's Adam Page, on the phone line. Felix was out that night, and I was talking to him. And I'm like, you know what you can do? You can actually you make your own biscuit mix and sell it at wrestling shows. And I promise you, it's probably going to be the most sold item because nobody does it. I don't think any wrestler comes with a bake sale at the merchandise stand. I think it's pretty smart idea. People like food, especially in South Louisiana. If you've ever been here before, no wrestler is selling candy or biscuits.
But you know what? That was an enjoyable show. I have to say it was.
Wait, what are you gonna say, Nate?
I was saying you're the entrepreneur, man. That's a good hustle right there.
I have some ideas. I'm not kidding you. Well, I was going to say this. I kind of lost my train of thought here. Next week's guest on Pipebomb Radio, and I've been looking forward to saying this all week long, and I know Nate's going to be excited about this. And Felix, you know about it too. You're the one who set it up as well. You know, the main person who set it up. But next week on Pipebomb Radio, we will be speaking to a legend, the Ugandan giant Kamala.
Yes, sir. We are speaking to the legendary Mr. James Kamala Harris. He also was known as Sugar Bear. I don't know why they called him. Well, actually, there's an interesting story about that. If you heard Steve Austin's podcast, you know. But he's out there promoting his book right now. And it's not just him. It's his former manager, current, Kim Chi, if you will. It's Kenny Casanova, who set up a Kickstarter account to help get the book published. And I can tell you right now, it's come along really well. As of right now, as of today, and they've still got about roughly, I'm going to say, 3 weeks. Now, his goal was to get it 12,000. Word has spread tremendously. He's already got 9,570 already people that have pledged to this, so they're almost to their goal. And this book will be published, and a lot of great perks that go with it. And it's for a good cause. Mr. Harris he's done so much for the fans and gone through so much, both personally and physically. Why not give back to a good cause after all the years of entertainment he's given us over the years? But not to say that there is another Kickstarter. Did I just say another other? Oh my goodness. Another Kickstarter account, of course, with Michael Elliott, who was a former guest just recently, for Ivan Koloff, who is trying to actually get his can I say this word today? I swear I can't talk anymore. Autobiography. Whew. Did I say that? Documentary? No, I didn't even say that right. Hello, I'm lost, guys. You guys are going to have to help me, bring me back in here. Documentary on the life of Mr. Koloff. This is not a WWE project. This is Elbow Productions project. He's done a lot of great interviews with a lot of great guys. But have you guys care to comment on either one? Have you guys heard about these Kickstarters?
Yeah, Ivan Koloff one. And I don't know if you want me to mention this now, but since the 100th episode, I think that we're going to be speaking to Ivan towards the end of September. Towards the end of next month, talk about his
it's more like the middle part, but yes, it'll be in September.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Ivan Koloff's the man. I mean, we've had him on. Me and Phil were like, well, we've had Bruno Sammartino on, the longest reigning WWE champion of all time. We need to have the man who beat Bruno Sammartino to become the third ever WWE champion in history, and we did. Ivan Koloff this past February, I believe, we actually had him on, and we're going to be having him on again September. One of the most meanest guys in wrestling.
Yes, his Kickstarter right now, just to mention, he's got about a little bit over 2 weeks left, and the goal for that one is $4,500 for the goal. Right now, his amount of pledges is totaling $2,159. So he's closing in on halfway, but there's still plenty of time. But you want to hurry because these times are running quickly out of time, and you want to definitely pledge. These are both for good causes. Both men have done so much for their fans, and continue to do so. They come on to promote these just to promote themselves. To let people know what they're doing. Not everything, and I'm not saying this to bash WWE because it's not intended to, but like I said, they're not the be-all, end-all. There are things that happen outside of WWE, and that's where this documentary is coming from, and, of course, the autobiography from Kamala. So definitely two great causes. I encourage you guys to pledge. Check out Kamala Speaks on Facebook. It's a fan page that is run by Kamala's manager with constant updates as to who is as to how far they've come. And I can vouch and say that former guests, Men on the Mission, have been helping out quite a bit, spreading the word. Oscar and Sir Mo have been spreading words about the Kamala autobiography and, of course, the Ivan Koloff Kickstarter for his documentary. So word is spreading around. It's getting told. It's getting out there. A lot of great retweets from a lot of stars who respect these guys. And I look forward to speaking to Mr. Harris, without a doubt.
Yeah, me too. This is the first time I'm hearing about this, and I'm absolutely amped. I'm trying to contain my fanboy barkishness, but I think these Kickstarter projects are very cool and a necessary resource because, and again, I'm not going to bash the WWE either, but they tell their own stories, and the Paul Heyman documentary that just came out was a fantastic story, but that's not the only story in the world of wrestling. And when you got somebody like a Kamala, somebody like an Ivan Koloff, who may have kind of dropped off of the radar from the casual WWE fan, there's a lot of fans that still remember these guys and still want to hear their stories. And in wrestling, there's no union, there's no pension. So, if I can find out something new and watch a cool documentary and put a couple bucks in these guys' pockets, as a fan, that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's another documentary that actually came out I believe it was towards the beginning of this year, and I watched it, and I'm telling you, right when I seen this, is the Rock and Roll Never Dies, Rock and Roll Express DVD, Michael Elliott designed, created, and produced. I was like, yeah, there is definitely another guy in the ballpark, because he hit it out. I mean, when you say out of the ballpark, I'm telling you, that was such a great documentary. Stone Cold Steve Austin reviewed it on his show, and a couple weeks back. I mean, if you get a chance to listen to it, it's really good. The entire thing, the first 3 discs that I've actually seen in quite some time, developed by a person that's kind of doing his thing on his own. And the Rock and Roll Express is definitely two guys, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, to get an actual show later on this year.
I always wondered, opinion time. I got to ask this. WWE attempted to bring in the Rock and Roll Express during the height of the Attitude Era. Now, what went wrong? And I know you both seen their runs in WWE, and I say WWE specifically because I feel that some of these stars who have come in have had bigger runs away from WWE. Now, when they try to come in and make a run in WWE, for some reason, it doesn't have the same impact. Why?
To me, I actually think it's the entire idea of different things that.
And let's just use Rock and Roll Express as an example.
Yeah, I mean, different things appeal to different generations that worked back then. Some of the things that worked back then aren't going to work now because people are getting the people who were watching the Attitude Era were teenagers, and now they have their kids that are watching today's stuff that might not know about what happened between Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, You know what I'm talking about? It's different. The whole entire the way people view things about professional wrestling as a whole is completely different for the most part, because there's different age levels watching it that might not know about what happened in the past. And for the Rock and Roll Express that came in towards the height of the Attitude Era, it just wasn't, I think, bad timing. You know, they didn't really fit in as well as they should have fit in. You know, the thing is they still did their thing to the highest level because of the Rock and Roll Express, one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Well, for me, I think it's kind of like, you know, you can have talent and you can have an organization that's successful, but a lot of times that's not always going to equal a good fit. You know, it's like you can have a great running back, but he might not be right for your system. And I think that with the Rock and Roll Express, you got guys that are undoubtedly one of the greatest tag teams of all time, but I don't think the WWE really knew how to present them. And they had, you know, that whole NWA angle with Jim Cornette, and they had the new Midnight Express with Bob Holly, and it didn't click with the Attitude Era fans, and it turned off the fans of the classic era, you know, the NWA era, and so you were left with a team that nobody cared about, which is a shame because Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, you know, those guys really helped put tag team wrestling on the map back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And that was the same time that when Dan Severn came into the picture.
Oh, you know what, guys?
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you guys off.
champion.
We do. I don't want to cut you guys off, and I apologize. We do have another caller calling in. He is actually Sir Mo. Welcome to the show, Mo. How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Yes.
What's going on,
We're glad to have you on here tonight.
Nothing much, just hanging and banging, man. Thought I'd pop in and see what's going on with the show tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of a guy who's made a big impact in WWF at the time, Sir Mo, the Middle Mission, former tag team champion.
Yeah, I kind of came in on the back end. You guys were discussing the Rock and Roll Express and the time that they spent there in WWF, and I think that from my perspective that it was as someone pointed out earlier, you know, you could have a great running back, but you know they don't fit in the system. You know, I think that at the time that they were brought to that program, I think too much time had passed with them being off of national TV, and you know, with the exception of the Smoky Mountain stuff, and I just think that the tag team scene didn't have a big enough focus either for it to warrant fans really paying attention to the whole idea of the new Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express.
And, you know, I wanted to ask, Mo, I know that you guys, I actually have to throw this out there. It's not even a question. This Thursday, Oscar and Sir Mo will be on location at a very special tribute show for their show, Not Your Mama's Radio Show on Thursday. They will actually be at a Michael Jackson tribute show out in, I believe it's in Gary. Is that right, Mo?
Gary, Indiana. Yes, sir, we will be.
And you just never know who might be popping in and being talked. We might have on the air live that night.
There's just ain't no telling. We do a dedication service on Thursday morning with the entire remaining Jackson family, which is gonna be an honor in itself. Somebody that grew up watching the Jackson 5. So
absolutely,
I'm eager and I'm excited about it. It's something new, and it may open up some other doors for some other stuff. So I think it's going to be a big plus for me, for Oscar, for our radio program, for Pipebomb Radio, because we're going to try to make the most of it to where it benefits us all.
Absolutely. And I know that you were saying you weren't feeling too good. I'm sorry, you had a question? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I had dialysis today, and it was a long 5 hours, and just hadn't been eating quite the way I needed to, so my blood pressure dropped, and I came home, and I sat down in the chair, and I woke up like 4 hours later. So it wasn't something I expected to do, but I'm okay. I'm up and I'm around. I was just wondering, so you guys, I don't know if it was just a conversation about WWE or Rock and Roll Express or tag teams or New Era or whatever. I was just trying to, get you guys back focused on the topic that you guys were at, because I'd really like to hear about it.
Well, I mean, the reason that it was brought up about the Rock and Roll Express is because I know that a former guest of ours, who is Michael Elliott, who did the documentary on him, and we were trying to push both the Ivan Koloff and Kamala Kickstarters that they're doing. So that kind of brought up the topic, because I know the Rock and Roll Express had a very, very brief run in WWE. Of all times, it was kind of strange, but I mean, it happened during their Attitude Era. And I was just wondering why. I was asking my co-hosts Austin and Nate what they thought, because it just seemed that a lot of the guys who became more established outside of WWE, when they came over, they didn't have as good an impact. And I'm hoping and praying that it won't result the same for Sting, because he's somebody that so many people have wanted to see in WWE for years. And he's been so well known outside of WWE.
Well, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing about Sting. Number one, he's never left national TV.
True.
Okay, he's always maintained a good, strong relevance in the world as far as national TV exposure. You know what I mean? He's always maintained that. He's always, whatever he's done, he's always stayed in the top tier of whatever company he was with, whether it was WCW or even in TNA. He always remained in the top tier. And I think it's because Sting is a smart enough businessman, and that's probably why it's been so long for them to get him to sign any kind of agreement with WWE. Sting is a smart enough businessman that he's not going to sign an agreement with them and not have some type of creative control over his character.
That's a good
You know
point.
what I mean? I think that that's why the negotiations. I mean, we're talking 10, 12 years, man, in the making. Because Sting is not gonna. As big as the WWF machine is, WWE machine is, and as huge of stars it can make people, Sting is already a huge star.
Absolutely.
So for him to take what he already has built up over the decades that he's already been in the business, and to hand it to somebody, for them to stick a needle in it and let it fizzle out, that would be career suicide. You know what I mean? That would be career suicide. So that's why it's been such a long, tedious negotiation with Sting, and that's why he's been able to hold out for so long, because he is that star, and he is, and everybody's got to understand and realize this. He is, as far as this wrestling business goes, he is the last piece of the puzzle as far as talent out there that hasn't worked for Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? Everybody else has worked for Vince McMahon except Sting. Everyone, Warrior, everybody he come up through, everybody that come up through Memphis, AWA, everyone has worked for Vince McMahon except Sting. He is the last piece of the puzzle to tie everything together, so when you present wrestling 10 years from now, there's not a known wrestler on the planet that's worked for a major organization that hasn't worked for Vince McMahon.
I think that'll be an interesting ride there.
And I think that he is smart enough. He's a smart enough businessman that he's saying to himself, "This is my last ride." You know what I mean? This is my last ride, and I'm gonna make it a good one. First of all, it's gonna be a prosperous one. You know, I mean, just think about it. He ain't on the road 360 days a year. You know, having to do all that to make the kind of money. Because I'm sure he got a nice payoff. I'm sure he got a nice, sweet deal coming in there.
Oh, I'm sure of that too.
And I'm sure that it's going to equate to at least one huge match. And it'll probably emanate at WrestleMania next year. You know, because who wants to end their career? Who wants to end their wrestling career having never performed on the grandest stage of all?
I don't know anybody who would.
You know, Starrcade is one thing. Don't get me wrong now. With Crockett's promotion, when they did Starrcade was it. You know what I mean? As far as the style of wrestling. But when you talk about wrestling, WrestleMania is it. That is the Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl professional wrestling. And who, win, lose, or draw, who wants to end a career and say and never be able to say that they didn't wrestle at WrestleMania?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And I can tell you this, I know, people always say The Undertaker. That's the main man that Sting should face, and that's the obvious one guy that if he's going to wrestle anybody, it should be The Undertaker. And I'll tell you this, for that match to actually happen, the only thing those two are going to have to do is stand in the middle of the ring and stare at each other. That's it. They don't have to say one word. No words have to be exchanged for them to make that match WrestleMania.
Of course not. I totally agree with that, Austin. I totally agree that they could probably stand there. Look, I'm going to give you a prime example of what it would be like. Do you remember when The Rock and Hulk Hogan stood there in the middle of that ring at that WrestleMania?
Yes, sir.
And they just stared at each other. And Rock went into the thing as the heel, right?
Yep.
I thought that was Hogan. Or was it
Rock
Hogan or
went
was
in
it Rock?
as the babyface. No, but Hogan was the heel. Rock went in as the babyface.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they stepped between the ropes. When they stepped between the ropes, Rock went in as the babyface.
Mm.
When they walked out of the ropes, it was totally the opposite. It was. I mean, if you remember back, Rock ended up working as the heel in that match, and he stepped in the ring as the babyface. But it was incredible. It was electric, And I think that, just like Austin pointed out, I think that would be the same thing if Taker and Sting stood toe to toe. You're talking about dead man and the Crow.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I mean,
the Raptors in the coffin.
Is that not what you're talking about? The dead man and the Crow.
Absolutely.
And I remember Sting pointing out.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Austin. You had a question.
I was going to say the phrase that Sting has, in many interviews, he's actually said, longevity is a secret. That's his phrase. I hear him say it all the time. Longevity is a secret, and that man, if you point out anybody in professional wrestling that's still doing their thing today, he definitely has a secret for longevity because he knows what he's doing.
Of course.
And I actually was going to ask you, Mo, I know Oscar has a Twitter account. Have you thought about joining the Twitter world, or do you already have a Twitter account?
I have a Twitter account. I just don't. I really don't mess with it too much. I have a Twitter account. It's Sermo Superstar.
Okay.
I have one. I don't tweet a lot. And I use Facebook really just to kind of keep in touch with people and to kind of push my whenever I do events or stuff like that. But this multimedia thing, this multimedia animal is something else, and then you got the radio podcast and all that stuff. So I was looking at some statistics on it the other day, and man, there's no better way to advertise products and services than multimedia right now. Yeah. There's absolutely no better. You will reach more people through multimedia advertising right now than you would on TV advertising.
I could definitely agree with that.
I mean, it's just incredible, man. I'm fascinated with the people that come up with this stuff. That created it. I sit back sometimes and say, Lord Jesus, why did you make me that smart? Why couldn't I have been that smart, Lord? But we all have our things that He's made us good at. So I'm finding my niche. It's out there somewhere. I do find it fun though to speak to get in front of crowds and speak to people about different issues. So I think that's kind of what my niche is. I hate that I didn't really get a lot of opportunities to speak when I worked for Vince McMahon. I think that having given a lot of opportunities, I think I would have probably had a longer career there. Because I think I'm real good at speaking.
Well, I actually wanted to ask you one last question before we let you go, because we're wrapping it up here.
Okay.
Do you have any upcoming shows, any Bully Mania, anything else besides, of course, the Not Your Mama's radio show this Thursday? Do you have any upcoming shows that you'd like to plug right now?
I've got, of course, the Michael Jackson thing on Thursday, and I'll be speaking on Saturday to kick off the concert series there at that Michael Jackson Festival. And then on the 13th, I will be in Union City, Tennessee at the second annual Ashley McClure Memorial with Jason the Brain. He actually invited me to do that this week. I was going to Heroes and Legends, but I did that thing, Heroes and Legends last year. And it was like 2 months after Nelson passed away, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right being there in that environment, without Nelson. So I'm kind of trying to be careful about doing things where it's just a men on a mission thing. If it's a Bully Mania thing, that's totally separate. But it's just kind of hard to do the men on a mission thing without Nelson. And then on September the 27th, I am in Shillington, Pennsylvania. They've got Indie Mania event going on there, and Bully Mania is a part of that. So I'm gonna appear. Actually, I think I'm wrestling on the show and doing the bullying presentation also. That's on September the 27th in Shillington, Pennsylvania. I am currently in talks with a couple of two organizations. I'm trying to get a face-to-face meeting with Vince in regards to possibly coming on as a ambassador to help out with the Be a Star program, stuff of that nature. But the biggest thing is my biggest focus right now is Bully Mania and really trying to get some serious followers for the Not Your Mama's radio program, because I liked it. I enjoyed doing the radio program. I really enjoyed it. I think that you guys, Felix and Austin, you guys have given us a heck of an opportunity there, and I want to try to make the most of that. I want to be successful, because I figure if I'm successful and we're successful, then it also increases the success of Pipebomb Radio, and that's what I want to do. I want to leave this world remembered for not so much the stuff that I did, as far as entertainment or wrestling, whatever, but more for the people that I helped.
Okay. Well, Mo, we want to thank you for calling in tonight and sharing your thoughts and your opinions on a lot of great topics. I will be in contact with you. Actually, I will be talking to you again on Thursday. But
okay.
In the meantime, thank you for joining us tonight for our 100th episode.
Not a problem.
And I hope you enjoy your night and continue to stay healthy.
Nice, sir.
I'll do my best. Take care, Austin.
Later, man. Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
What a I don't even know what words I can put into this. Oh my goodness, it's been an incredible show tonight, guys. Let me coin a phrase that Austin tends to make famous anywhere he goes around, any show he's been on. It's been a phenomenal show.
Yes, phenomenal, because good was just not good enough.
It really can, because we've had many surprises. We had a great interview tonight, and what a great way to close from a man who's got a lot of insight on the business and definitely wants to give back. And I think I wish him the best of luck on that. And just the great guests, Elio, Terry, Martin. It was an action-packed 2 hours. Hell, 2 hours plus.
Beard.
James Beard, without a doubt. We couldn't have kicked it off any better.
So much insight in one show. Next week, Kamala, the Ugandan giant, will be with us here live at Pipebomb Radio. Nate Milton,
I'll even do the belly bounce for him. The belly slap. How you do the slap. But how about as we close down here in just about a minute or two, Nate, I definitely would love to hear your thoughts tonight on how you thought the show went tonight.
Oh, definitely a fun show. I'd say this is a Subway tuna sub with tomato of a show.
Amen.
There you go.
Praise.
It was very cool. All the surprises, and just hearing from Sir Mo, which if you're not listening to the Not Your Mama's radio show, you need to be listening to that show, because it is where it's at.
Topics.
Absolutely, and real quick, just shout out you guys, man, for 100 episodes. In this day and age of shows that are here today and gone tomorrow, 100 episodes is a great milestone. So congratulations to you guys. Thanks for bringing me on to the team, and we're going to keep this thing rolling.
Amen to that. And I won't say cheers to the next 100. I'll say cheers to the next maybe 1,000. Who knows? We might hit 1,000 episodes one day. You never know. Maybe I'll bring you guys back, or I'm just kidding. Maybe I'll bring you guys in as a special co-host. Now, I know y'all ain't going to stick with me for 1,000 episodes, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm not. It's been a great ride. It's been an enjoyable one, a stressful one, but a fun one. A very busy one. Who'd have thought? But as we go ahead and bring it to a close, on behalf of Nate and Austin and myself, celebrating our 100th episode tonight, we thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this as much as we have. And as I always close the shows, like I always do, make sure you guys keep your feet on the ground and always keep reaching for those stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, man. Take it easy.